Welcome. Hello, my friends. Hello, my enemies. Resistance is futile. We're going to have fun tonight. Welcome. It is Mysterious Forces Live, and it is Saturday, June 15th, 2019. Boy, do we have a humdinger tonight. We are international. Humdinger. That's a word you don't hear very often. Welcome, everyone. Humdinger is like a word my grandpa would use. Kind of like tallywhacker, but I don't want to get into it. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much. I want to give a couple of shout outs. I know that Dark Journalist mentioned this show as he was going to sign off tonight and encouraged his viewers to come along. So if you're jumping in from Dark Journalist, thank you so much. There's been a lot of hoopla on Twitter today. It's been kind of a Twitter feeding frenzy, so to speak. I invited UniRock onto the show early in the day, very early in the day. And really, if he had chosen to come onto the show, I was going to let him go first. I was going to let him show what evidence he had. I was going to let him state his case. And I would still do this. It's not like it's totally expired, but it might be a moot point in a few days. It's kind of like, strike while the iron's hot. But I would have given him a chance to state his case, present his evidence, and I was going to moderate a discussion without personal attacks between everyone that's on the panel tonight and himself or whoever, and kind of hash out some of this. We're going to talk about UniGate tonight. That's going to be the primary focus. But as the discussion moves along, I want to also address the topic of the new guard and whether those of us who are kind of new, I'm newer than a lot of people, but there's a group of us, and mainly the people involved in the promotion, a lot of the people that were involved in the kind of Twitter circle today, Dark Journalists, other people like that, who are kind of the new guard of this alternative research. And this new guard, the YouTubers and other people that have their own platforms or have their own shows, they're not just towing the old school line. They're not just going along to get along. A lot of us are creating waves and raising hell because we see wrongdoing. And when we see people telling lies and we see people exploiting vulnerable people, then I think it's our obligation to speak out. We don't want lies spread in the community. We don't want any of that going on. And I see some other people in the chat. I see CW. He's in the bullpen. Bibi, she is there as well. Welcome. I haven't done any introductions yet. I'm just going to kind of set this up. So since we have so many people here, I'm not going to spend too much time talking. We'll kind of outline the issues. We'll talk about UniGate, and then we'll talk about what's going on with the new guard here, all the people with the new shows, and perhaps a new standard and what's acceptable behavior within the alternative research community, no matter where you stand on that spectrum. I just want to outline a couple of things. I'm just going to ask everyone to be respectful of their co-guest, and I'll let everyone get a full say. So let's not try to talk over each other and step on each other. And I'll be very cognizant of that. So, and I don't want this to be, it would be really easy for all of us to sit here and kind of gang up and dunk on UniRock. It would be too easy. And the thing is, I don't really think that's the mature way to go. Just dunking on someone that isn't here to defend themselves, even if they've made a public statement. We can discuss it and we can discuss facts and we can give opinions, but I just don't want this to be some kind of ad hominem attack thing, while the person is not present. That it would be kind of cheap, in my opinion. I think we're all above that. So we'll stick with facts and certainly say your opinion, even if
Right.
your opinion is a strong opinion. I'm not going to quash anyone's opinion. Everyone gets a free say. Everyone gets to express their opinion and what they want to say. And you, please use any language that you want. We're here for an open discussion and an honest discussion. We've got Bibi, CW, Davie, Smoke King, and Jiggy. And Kelly Farmer is also, she was sent a link. I don't know if she'll be joining us.
She's actually not going to be able to join us, but I know that she's in the live chat.
Okay, cool. So she's in the live chat. That's awesome. I want to address that too. The only reason I know that she is involved in this, I wouldn't want to call it a case, but this situation, she played a big part in this from way back. And she has a lot of detail about this. And the reason I didn't initially invite her onto the panel was it was actually an act of respect for me and from me for her and CW, in that I don't want to treat them like they're attached at the hip. And because one of them shows up, they both have to show up. And I wanted to respect them both as content creators and kind of treat them as individuals, even though I know that, you know, they have a closer relationship interpersonally. I don't want as a third party to treat them that way. So I didn't make that assumption. But that being said, by all rights, she certainly has a say in this and plays a role in this. And maybe I'll just have her come on and we can talk about her perspective, and she's welcome to do that as well. So that's it. So let's try not to step on each other too hard in terms of talking over each other, because I don't know, Bibi is in California. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
All right. So we've got New Jersey, California, Scotland, and Boston in the house. Smoke King and Jiggy are in Boston. Bibi is in California, New Jersey. And everyone's going to love Davie's Scottish accent. It's awesome. I'd like to start out. Can you briefly, kind of in bullet points, CW, just kind of lay out these assertions that UniRock made against you and Kelly, and how this played out in a timeline?
Well, I mean, I respect your opening introduction where you said, let's not make this a case of dunking on UniRock. I don't know if I'm the best person to articulate his ideas because I have an opinion about his ideas. I'm not a disinterested party. I'll be very frank and honest. What is happening is that UniRock has made severe allegations against me and Kelly. His allegations seem to be born out of, and I'm going to state this as, and people can try and differentiate opinion from fact. And I'm here to learn and to hear other people's opinion. I'm impassioned about the subject. The fact of the matter is that everyone who's here is probably familiar with what we're calling Doxgate. There's been an ongoing observation of behavior about Corey Good that was based on speculation, based on some observable fact, but over time it developed, accumulating in a time that Twitter accounts were formed that were utilized to spread personal information of mine, though some of this information was already out in the public sphere, but more specifically, information regarding a YouTube content creator named Joe from the Carolinas. His personal information was put way out there. Me and UniRock originally began to work as colleagues and try and discover and get to the bottom of what was happening with the docs of Joe from the Carolinas. We had done some good work, that the biggest result of which was the discovery of laying out a fact pattern that indicated that another very large YouTube content creator and alt media personality by the name of Jordan Sather had played a critical role in the dissemination of the personal information of Joe from the Carolinas. There was a falling out between me and UniRock regarding creditation for this work. UniRock's personal problematic behavior to me, problematic behavior that has been looked at by other people in the YouTube content community from other perspectives, from the QAnon investigation teams to other political parties, just basically saying that this is kind of par for the course for the guy. Not to go into the weeds on that, to just say that there definitely was a falling out between me and UniRock, and it remained there. He occasionally would appear out of the brush on his channel to say something about me. I will say this. I'm very open with my personal life and my personal beliefs and my personal journey and struggle with childhood physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. At one point, he had taken a video of me where I basically said some dark stuff that had occurred to me, thoughts that were preoccupying my mind at earlier stages of my life. I had made a personal testimonial where I had said, at points in my life, in my youth, I felt this, and this way about things. And they were dark thoughts. Thoughts about feeling like it was a dog eat dog world, that people had to take advantage of each other, that there was no moral or ethical high grounds, that everything was, you could do whatever you want to. And then I said, but my spiritual journey and investigation into things led me to a light, and I recovered from these thoughts and ideas. So it was a three-part statement. This is what I thought when I was younger because of a lot of things I had gone through. Here were the dark thoughts. I came out that way and I no longer ascribe to those beliefs. He literally cut out the part where I said this is a previous thought pattern that I had that I had abandoned. He took out the part where I said that I had affirmatively abandoned those thoughts and turned away from them, and basically put out the part in the middle that said basically to indicate that I was some sort of nefarious, evil-minded, fascistic cult leader. If you want to think of a perfect example about it, it would be like taking a statement by a person who said, I was raised by a member of the KKK. I joined the KKK following my father's footsteps, and then I left the KKK when I found Jesus. If someone were to take out the beginning and end of that sentence and just say, I joined the KKK, that's slander against someone
Right.
who has left the KKK. So this is what UniRock does, and he's done it specifically during the process of Doxgate. We need to know is coming out of contact in the desert. We had more evidence, not less evidence, that Corey Good, Jordan Sather, Roger Ramsor were directly involved in the doxing of me and Joe from the Carolinas. For some odd reason that is only explicable to him, UniRock made the decision to formulate basically a very new concept, a novel idea, and take on a thing. And I'll be completely honest, a take that is absolutely devoid of any evidentiary support that I was behind the dox of Joe from the Carolinas. He has come out and he has made several allegations against me, including I was a member of this group working in cahoots with these guys, and I had provided them with the personal info. Then it evolved to, okay, I may not have provided the docs from Joe from the Carolinas, but I tried to join in myself. And I also see some in the live chat saying you weren't doxed, CW. Diligent escape. We've been over this. Doxing is not a statutory crime. Therefore, the establishment of the factors of doxing is a futile effort. The people that created the Organa Alderana Twitter identity obviously didn't know that my name was out there. So yes, my name was out there. Since the day I started talking about this, UniRock fans, I have always said and acquiesced that when they put out the website of my firm, that they were attempting to dox me, because that's what I believe that they are. And if you want to say that I wasn't doxed or they weren't trying to dox me, I lay out a thesis. I point to evidentiary support. You know what? A manslaughter jury, a murder jury hearing a murder trial, sometimes some of those people end up a hung jury because some people hear the evidence and think that the case has been made one way, and some people think that it's made another way. But I will say this. You could say whatever you want to about the doxing of me and whether or not it counts as a dox because my personal information, my name was already out there. That's a debate that can be had, whether you want to get into the weeds of what's a dox. Is it a dox if a person has a website out there, if it's public information? You can have that debate. What can't be
We could
debated
also
is
look
that
at intent as well. I don't mean to
right,
step on you, but we
absolutely,
can look at intent.
and that's perfectly that goes right to my point. The other thing is this, Diligent Escape, and anyone else who wants to raise this issue. You could say that CW Chanter wasn't doxxed. What you can't say is you can't say that my father, Alan Zavodnik, wasn't doxxed. My father's name, who's an 81-year-old individual suffering with, is wheelchair bound, with mental health issues, stability issues, all sorts of health issues, that his name was put out there, and it was put out there for one reason and one reason only, and that was to punish me, Benjamin Zavodnik, for having the audacity of talking about Corey Good. UniRock's theories are flawed. They're based on no evidentiary support. And I challenge anyone to come to my channel to say to me, I believe that I can make the argument why UniRock's evidentiary support stands up. You will be given the time of day. We can have a discussion and debate about it. We can go through the issues step by step. He's grasping at straws. He has radical, bizarre theories from I concocted the screenshots or me and Kelly concocted the screenshots. This has all been debunked. Fans of UniRock, huge supporters of UniRock, are on the record on Twitter saying that the issues with the numbering and the date formats is a done issue. It is what it is. And by the way, I see people want a third party analysis. Steve Cambion of the Midnight Hour show,
Yes.
who has some expertise in Photoshop, has looked at the documents. These screenshots were also provided to Cliff High, who is a computer expert, who UniRock himself has identified as an expert who he wants to weigh in. And you know what? Cliff High has put his opinion on the record on some of UniRock's theories saying that they're groundless. It is what it is. I mean, I don't know what more to say about it. Is that we've gone back and forth. And I will say this. UniRock was promising that he was going to give this landmark presentation. It was going to be a short form video, concisely narrowing down everything that he wanted to say about me. And that was 3 days ago now. And we see now, if you go to UniRock's channel, he's gone to talk about some other issue. After having saying that this issue was so good, that he had so big and so important, and he had me so dead to rights, he had to go to the FBI. So I say to you, sir, you're so interested in the subject and it's so important that you're going to go to the FBI, but then days later, you abandon the pursuit of the landmark video that's going to apparently protect people from the nefarious actor, the CW Chanter, after he's already offered a public apology to Corey Good and Jordan Sather personally. My God, I mean, it's insane. Oh, and I also want to point out another thing. Opinions are opinions. UniRock's production assistant, co-director, however you want to characterize her, is on Twitter telling people to investigate me, directing people to go to my Facebook, personal Facebook pages, to presumably say what she's going to do. She's going to go to look at what I was doing for the past 5 years. Well, I'll tell you what I was doing on the past 5 years that's on my personal Facebook history. I was a husband and I was a father. What is she directing people to look at? If she's got something to say about me, say it. You don't need to tell people to go to Facebook. I also want to say that there's interested parties who like to float around, under pseudonyms. I know who you are, and I see what you say, and I know what you talk about. UniRock may cover a lot of issues. Look, the daily news, the newspapers of record, magazines and newspapers and TV shows cover a lot of things too. You don't drop a coverage of some landmark false flag that you're going to prove the next day to cover the poodle races. The debate between what's going on with the hosting of a particular internet YouTube debate show, I dare say, is proof that he's got nothing when it comes to this issue, these grand allegations that he's making against me. Why he's making these allegations is anybody's guess. But this is par for the course for UniRock. If you go ahead and want to talk about what people say about CW Chanter, they say very consistent things. I'm a loudmouth. I'm rude. I'm aggressive. I'm nasty. I get personal. I don't listen to reason. I fly off the handle. I have emotional breakdowns. And you know what? Why people say those things? Because they're true. And you know what they say about
Scottish.
Yeah, there you go. And then you know what they say about UniRock? They say he steals the content of smaller YouTube content creators. He places the information out of himself. He doctors evidence. He doctors clips in order to make his points. He grasps for straws and he talks for 8 hours at a time. He buries extreme allegations at the end of 8-hour streams so that nobody can try and fact check him. And he doesn't respond to criticism. Oh yeah, and he manicures his live chat. He often switches it off to members only. He will, if you say anything that is contrary to UniRock's desires, you get banned like nobody's business. So that's what it is. So they can say what they want about me. Some things are big deals, some things are small deals, and we can say what we say about UniRock. Some of them are going to be big deals and some of them are going to be small deals. But I will say this: thanks to UniRock, Corey Good and Jordan Sather have a perfect excuse and explanation as to their involvement in the doxing. They can simply say that UniRock, who now all of a sudden is my former friend or whatever, is saying that I did these things.
Right. It gives them ammunition for some kind of, deniability.
Oh,
And
one last thing.
Yeah.
Last thing. He knows, UniRock knows that these screenshots are available to anybody who the screenshots are nonsense if you're a member of the Facebook Messenger group. He knows for a fact that there's 3 or 4 members of the Facebook Messenger group from which the screenshots were taken who are still associated with Corey Goode. Therefore, if Corey Goode needed this data, they already had access to the data. So number one, if they had if they who were the parties who would most likely want to decry their innocence or point to the fact that CW Chanter was at the bottom of this, they would have ample opportunity to point out my involvement in the group or where I was or how the screenshots were doctored or wrong. But the only thing that's different is that he's now offering to send the screenshots directly to Corey Goode. The problem with that is that these screenshots, and UniRock claims to be a hacker with large computer skills, then he would know that there's a certain amount of metadata from Kelly Farmer that's contained within these screenshots. So Corey Goode doesn't need the screenshots. UniRock would know if he had any computer skills whatsoever that Jordan Sather and Corey Goode didn't need the screenshots, and that he's offering them anyway. Is he stupid and not a good hacker? Or is he intentionally maliciously trying to spread, the metadata to other parties? Now he's offering this metadata to anyone. He's saying anyone who contacts him, he's going to send these screenshots to. Again, and UniRach's associate is telling people to look at my personal Facebook pages. These opinions are opinions and facts are facts. These are the statements they've made in public. These are the actions they've made in public. They're bad faith actors, and I would urge anybody to know and understand to not have anything to do with UniRock. But people are going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to come to their own conclusions.
Right. And before we move forward, I want to just address one quick thing. You talked about you having a bias coming into this, and everyone's opinion and biases are welcome. Everyone has a bias. And the reason that it's totally okay is because he had an open invitation to come here and speak for himself. So if he won't come here and speak for himself, where he would have been able to present his side and / his bias, then he, if he chooses not to come here and represent himself, and I would have given him a fair shake. And he, if he doesn't want to participate, then we get to present our biases, our opinions, and then he can suck it because, he didn't want to show up. He didn't want to participate, right? So I want to go down.
Natasha, I offered him to come on our show and have him and CW do. I
don't even know what a paranormal hood is, bro.
And I said that you both could have your chance. You could have your side. He could speak. You could speak. I'll make sure everybody gets equal time. Nobody would be yelling. Nobody screaming. As chat just proceeded to tear CW apart, me apart, they blocked me, and then Uni goes on a whole half-hour tirade of here, Paranormal Hood, I'll show you all about CW, and plays all those stupid little videos and everything and just completely trash. And I'm like, dude, that doesn't have anything to do with any of this. It doesn't prove anything of what you're talking about except that you do not like CW.
But
that's all it was. But if you bring up anything to UniRock, anything, I was being respectful and everything. They just block you, delete your comments.
But that's par for the course, though. If you look at sense, he's kind of joined the other side and he's now in bed with these people. This is what they do. They block you, they talk at you, they talk around you, and they try to ignore anything. He's not going to come on it. He's not going to be someplace where he doesn't feel comfortable. He controls his situation the same way he controls his long ass streams. For whatever reason he does these fucking ridiculous long streams. That's what people, they're all doing it. It's status quo for them. So I don't see him wanting to come on these shows and be a part of this. He's going to want to keep it in his little controlled environment, just like they all do.
Yeah, I think it's dishonest intellectually because when people create an echo chamber, then no real discussion, no real original thought is going to happen. It's just, bias confirmation. Bibi, I want to hear from you. You've been very patient. I wanted to have you here because I wanted to get some diverse opinions. And I know Smoke King and Jiggy personally, and I feel like I know CW. We haven't hung out in person, but we've definitely communicated with each other a lot, and I think we have a sense of each other. But I wanted another fresh pair of eyes, kind of someone outside of our little bubble to come in and give commentary. And even if you don't have maybe commentary on the details of this specifically, I'm wondering what your impression is on what's going on with the alternative research community at this time, all of this shakeup. How are you seeing this?
Well, first of all, Natasha, I really appreciate your inviting me on tonight. And I do have a different perspective because I come to this from the what I would call the consciousness community. But let me just zero in right now on UniRock. I first became aware of him on CW's channel during a stream during the Doxgate. I can't quite recall the month it was, but it was that stream that Uni came on, and they were communicating very nicely. There was a really uplifting feeling, and I thought, well, this is cool. This is really good. You know, people coming together with a common cause for transparency, integrity, and righting some very nefarious wrongs that I was perceiving. So after that, I attempted to go to UniRock's channel, and I could not for the life of me stay there for longer than 5 minutes. This is nothing against him. It's just, it's not my style. I was not interested in his material, and I wasn't that interested in the vibe that he was putting out there. And this may sound strange, but as this thing has come forward, I'm not surprised. I was reminded of some guys I knew in the younger days in high school who were kind of vindictive and flexing their muscles. And that's just my opinion. You know, that's how I came to it. Now, there are some grievous wrongs that have been committed by this person, UniRock, against my friends, CW and Kelly Farmer. I'll say it boldly. I really, really like them. I care about them both. And I'm pissed off that this ridiculous behavior is ongoing. Now, that being said, I do want to pose a question. In the scheme of things, how much influence does UniRock have on the overall conversation? How much energy is this worth? And that's the question. I'll turn it over.
My initial impression would be it only has as much power as we give it. And I think that's kind of up to us individually, and that's not a cop-out, because once again, his fans and the people that are going to stick in his camp are an echo chamber, and they're just getting a big dose of confirmation bias. For the rest of us out here that are kind of like on the outside looking in, that aren't directly involved in this, it just looks like some kind of a cheap cop-out. You know, it's like throwing a rock at somebody when you're half a block away and then you continue to run away from them. I mean, it's a cheap shot. It's unfounded, and it's not true. And I'm going to say it's not true because I believe CW and I believe Kelly, and I know them to be people of integrity. And I can admit that bias. Why? For one thing, the guy didn't come on the show and state his case or defend his assertions. So, you know, that his silence, his lack of response, and his absence here right now speaks volumes and speaks for itself. But I went around everyone, and Davie, thank you so much, because you're the one suffering the most here. You're in Scotland, and it's the middle of the night there, and I appreciate you so much taking the time to be here. How does all this look from the UK? What's your perspective?
Well, thank you very much for having me on, Natasha, to start with. It's absolutely fantastic to be here. Yeah, 3 o'clock, early hours of the morning here. I've already had a little nap, so this is a whole new day for me. It's Sunday here in Scotland. I come at this from a few different perspectives. I think first and foremost, one of the things that I would like to get across tonight, and maybe good starting to say this at the start of the show, there's been a lot of accusations thrown out. There's been a lot of things said about a lot of different people. Some of them close friends, Some of the things, as Bibi rightfully said, not just hurts the people that the accusations are being laid to, but they hurt the people that are close to the situation. And in that case, that's absolutely everybody here just now. It's everybody that's in this chat room. Everybody here has been affected by this, one way or another. From a personal point of view, if I can share something with you, maybe. The past week and a half has been a bit rough for me. I've been trying to get back into the way of doing my content and running my own shows. A couple of weeks ago, I decided to enter into the world of criticising other shows, so to speak, and I was going to take on Edge of Wonder and do a weekly sort of rehash of what Edge of Wonder was doing. In the process of doing that, this whole furor started up between UniRock and CW. And I get kind of caught up in that. So every morning I was getting up, and every morning there was a 4-hour show, totally taking CW apart, totally birating CW. And that was the first thing that I watched every single morning. And it wasn't until Wednesday came around when I actually sat here trying to make my own shows, and I realised it's impossible. I'm so angry. I'm so caught up in all of this. I can't get to do what I want to do myself. And it got me thinking. It got me thinking about how much we all become attached to one another and how much that all means to us. One of the big things that bothers me on YouTube is the use of the word community, because I think that there's lots of different groups of people on YouTube all doing different things but associating with each other. And the problem with the word community is that we've got people on the outside that try to come in and influence us. And they influence us by reassuring us that we are part of a community that they're part of as well. And I think that can be really, really dangerous. One of the things that I want to kind of put forward is that we need to move on from this, obviously. A line needs to be drawn somewhere, you know. Whether it's collectively, we all just be like, the guy's talking a lot of rubbish, let's move on, you know, he's shilling for coin. If that's a perspective that people can have. Or whether you see the intent that we talked about earlier, and you recognise that intent, and you take it for what it is, and you make your own judgment as to whether you want to move on for that or not. I, for one, do. I would want all of this to kind of end and go away, not for the sake of CW, for the sake of Kelly. It's ridiculous, like, you know, but for the sake of what it's doing to the groups, the creators, and the subscribers that are involved watching all of this, I think it needs to stop. One way or another. Now, I don't know how that's going to be. I don't know how we're going to be able to make that stop. But I think collectively, this is one thing that we're doing tonight. Lots of people have tried to put these groups together this week so that we can all get a chance to talk. I host a weekly show where basically that's what we do, is we sit down and chat about whatever's going on. These things are important, and this is what's important. For everything that's happened over the past 2 or 3 weeks, this most probably is the most important show, because it's us all talking to each other and discussing this. I would say to the guys in the chat room that are coming in with slagging comments and are constantly battling us with text messages, stop it. Just listen, you know, just listen. And if you don't agree, move on. For the sake of what you call community, move on.
I'm wondering if this isn't a symptom of really what's going on more a macro scale, that the community is splitting. There's this what I will call mainstream alternative, which would be more Jimmy Church, coast to coast, traditional broadcasting. And, you know, you've got in terms of UFO stuff specifically, there's Richard Dolan, Nick Pope, and those guys, and those are all very mainstream people. And they're not really interested in polarizing topics. They have other career objectives or whatever, and so they don't they don't deign to stoop down to this level. We're not going to get Richard Dolan to comment on this stuff. We're not going to get Jimmy Church, obviously, is not going to comment on anything controversial. So,
It's one of the
it's not like we have an option to even hear from those people.
Yeah.
But then you have people that are us, dark journalist, Joe from the Carolinas, people on this side of it who are kind of into this, at least somewhat science-based, reality-based, maybe truth-based, this camp that wants truth. Like we're already kind of entertaining some ideas and some concepts that are very fringe and out there and not commonly accepted. So we're already kind of pushing the envelope of what we can possibly believe in terms of logic and reason, but at the same time are being open to it, just like Bibi from the consciousness community. Like there's a whole spectrum of people here. There's no one demographic per se that can describe all the people involved and all the eyeballs on these topics. So you've got the people that I call the fantasists, the people who are into kind of fantasy escapism, who are more prone to believe this 20 and back bullshit, and the people who really don't care as long as they get some entertainment or some distraction, or somehow it confirms some bias or feeds a fantasy for them that helps them ease the pain of day-to-day life here on planet Earth. You can't fight against that. And then you've got this other crowd is saying, look, stop telling these lies. This is bullshit. This is exploitation. And so I'm wondering, all that being said, let's go across the panel, and everyone here is very cool. So I think you guys are kind of policing yourselves. You'll take turns. What I want to throw out is, what does it mean that UniRock then turned to Corey Goode himself for backup? Do we think that he was colluding with Corey Goode previous to this, and then it only came out when he publicly asked for help? Or do you think that was a desperate last act on UniRock's part to get some backup for his assertions?
Can I go first quickly?
Sure.
I think he was shilling for coin. I think he was trying to get attention. Look at the first 3 days. All he done was try and call out Dark Journalist. Dark Journalist, give me a call. I want an interview. I want to talk to you, Dark Journalist. Email me, DJ. It's all he kept saying for 3 days. And then Cliff High and DJ made their presence known on Twitter by basically calling him a fool, or whatever the words were that they used. They're my words, obviously. And then immediately when that happened, he turned to Corey Goode, which is ludicrous, and obviously anything that goes against CW or any what's happening against the blue chicken cult, if you like to call them that, they're going to jump on that. And that's exactly what happened. So UniRock got himself a wee bit of attention, but to be honest with you, was it good attention? I don't think so.
Jump in.
In answer to that question, was he colluding with Corey Goode, or was he acting in desperation? Either way, it's hilariously pathetic from my point of view. It doesn't look good at all. Either way, it just proves that he really is not worthy of respecting what he's putting out there. So that actually made me feel better regarding what he was saying. When I was looking at this, I felt anxious and upset because of my affection for CW and for Kelly. And I thought it was just, bottom feeder behavior. I was getting really disgusted. So that being said, it doesn't matter, from where I'm coming from. One little observation. There are all different people, all different kinds of people who are interested in the information that kind of comes into this arena. And whether you want to call it waking up, as people refer to it in those who put focus on ascension and spiritual practices, etc., or if you want to call it transparency and getting to the truth, facts, etc., it requires from everybody maturity, growing up. That really is forcing everyone to learn how to listen and to operate with respect, not only for the other people, but for oneself. It's a huge, big deal. And I agree with you, Natasha. This is it's symbolic of what's going on overall in society. Ultimately, I do believe that we are going to grow up, all of us, and we're going to make it. But right now, it's a mess and it's painful. And but you know, we'll get through it.
We're in the adolescent tantrum phase.
Exactly.
Can I chime in next, Natasha, please?
Sure. Yes. No. You guys.
I just want to say this because I hear a lot of people, and I get the idea of peace and love, and everybody should be adults and prosperity. But one thing I've learned in all these communities, the paranormal community on down, doing research and all these things for years, is that people forget they really don't look at the underlying thing that these people talk about, which is exclusivity. They're not talking about inclusivity, exclusivity, that you have to ascend, that you have to do certain things, and that only certain people can do these things. They think a certain way that a lot of people don't look at. They're so caught up in the particular names and not the whole theme of what these people have going on. And I think that's a huge problem. That is why we can't all sit down and have a conversation. That is why they don't respond, because they don't look at us as somebody they need to respond to. We're not part of their plan. None of us, none of the people here who are talking. They don't care about us. And that's what I think is what the problem is, honestly, is why there's no communication. It's almost a one-sided conversation, but it's also the reason why all of us exist, because we see these things and we see the problem in the stuff that they're pushing overall. And we're waking up to the fact that this isn't for all of us. They're not thinking of all of us. There's a ship or whatever it is that they want to leave on. They don't want to take us all to ascension and everything with them. That's my piece on that, because I think the peace and love and everything would be great. I've heard about paranormal unity and everything for years. It's not going to happen, because it's always going to be a us and them mentality.
Jiggy, do you think then the problem lies with us noticing these other hassles? Do you think it's us that have got the burden of it? Should we just sort of give it up and move on ourselves?
No, never give up. There's still, I mean, the overall thing is about disclosure. The overall thing is about peace and love. That the message is what's important. It's the messengers that we're having a problem with. And these messengers are creating problems because these are the prevalent people that everybody looks to for answers in a community, and they're not giving any answers. They're just going in circles. So it's like a dog just chasing its tail, and it's making all of us look stupid and like we're wasting our time.
People have to realize that we have a choice. We don't have to glom on and become a member of a group and pay focus and attention and give our energy to one person because the others say, this is what I'm talking about in terms of maturing and understanding, in terms of respecting ourselves, that we do have a choice. It's individual, and from that individual growth, we begin to resonate with others who share, those sites. But Jiggy, I agree with you. It's so contentious. It's awful, and the way it has been has to change.
Smoke King, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Not at this time.
Okay. CW, do you have you've been listening for a while.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what your response is to what you've heard.
There's a couple of things. I understand the thing about life is that everybody thinks that they're going to have a moral code or an ethical solution that's going to be the correct one to apply all the time. Thou shalt not kill. Watch your words. That's not my truth, but if it's your truth and resonates with you, namaste and peace. Regarding these situations, and also it's the arguments about how much energy do you give it and just ignore it, it'll go away. I understand what the motivations behind those are, but I'm going to argue that some of those motivations are about a world that we wish was rather than the world that we actually live in today. Understand this, is that the exact same arguments that people make to me all the time about my beef with UniRock are exactly the same arguments that were presented to me when I first came out and started talking about Corey Good. I said, I'm talking about Corey Good because I've been down this road with other people. I can understand manipulative people. I can understand this personality type. I understand users and abusers. I understand the makings of a personality cult, and I know where these things go. And how do I know where these things go? Because I've been a participant observer. I tell people all the time, I was involved in Scientology. I was involved in International Society of Krishna Consciousness. I was involved in Swami Narayan Hinduism. I was involved in Alcoholics Anonymous, the Church of Satan, and every spot in between. When CW Chanter tells you something has the makings and the lookings of a mind control cult, it's because it does. I have personal relationships with people who have been hurt by Corey Good, and so I spoke out against Corey Good. Many people that reasons to talk about Corey Good, and there were many reasons why people said that I should just leave it alone. And I said, with all due respect, I can understand why you think I should leave it alone, but I'm not going to. If you don't want to pay attention, you don't have to. If you think I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And that's the way that it goes. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to UniRock, is no one understand this. People were concentrated on what Corey Good was doing with the doxing of Joe from the Carolinas because it had an actual adverse effect on the life of an individual. When Corey Good directed his minions to take the personal health information of one groovy being, Yvonne Palermo, weaponize it, use it to hurt her, destroy her, activate her PTSD, and make her feel persecuted to the point of where she was receiving death threats, etc., he had done something that was nefarious, evil, and wrong. When UniRock when people were concentrating on him doing this to Joe from the Carolinas, thank God, didn't lose his job. He could have. I can tell you that I'm not going to talk about what I'm privy to regarding the personal lives of the parties involved, but doxing does adversely affect people. They can reach out to you at work. They can reach out to your family. They can make you feel that you shouldn't be allowed to do and shouldn't do the things that you feel that you are drawn to and should do. And remember, folks, Joe from the Carolinas is one of the harshest critics on the internet. No, pay attention to the work that Joe from the Carolinas had done on Corey Good, which was essentially just to say, this is a ludicrous story with no evidentiary support, and we should think long and hard about whether or not we do that, follow that stuff. The community as a whole had been involved in a group endeavor of journal, kind of open source journalism to discover Corey Good's involvement and Jordan Sather's involvement in Doxgate. Those investigations were predicated upon evidentiary support in the form of screenshots, people's personal testimony about their experiences, and looking at past behaviors of these individuals, past documented behavior of these individuals. That evidence can be supported to people, and people can say yay or nay about whether or not they're convinced by that evidentiary support, about whether the conclusions have been made and whether the thesis is supported. That's fair enough. UniRock has come out and he's basically said that I was personally responsible for the doxing of Joe from the Carolinas. He made the allegation that I had taken Joe from the Carolinas' personal information and for personal reasons, because I had a desire for fame and fortune, had hung my personal friend out to dry. That is a harsh, slanderous, libelous action to make. I understand why people don't think I should give him his energy, but here's what I say. You know what? You want to find a great way to be victimized and be victimized over and over again? Let your victimizer know that you're not going to do anything when they come around you. They break into your apartment, they take your gumballs, they take your marbles, they push you and punch you around. They're the ones that are going to say, don't be a tattletale. And I'm not being a tattletale. All I'm telling is the truth. There's no evidentiary support whatsoever that UniRock has ever been able to point to show why his shifting sands of lies and innuendo shouldn't be called out for what it is. He's a bad faith actor, and I stand upon this. There are people that will never be convinced that CW Chanter is right, because you know what? For some of those people, they just don't like CW Chanter. And some people don't like CW Chanter for personal reasons. I just rub them the wrong way. I remind them of someone that gave them a hard time in high school. I'm just a jerk. Because, hey, maybe because they know that I did something in my personal life that in their personal life cut against them. Maybe they're upset because their fathers left. Maybe they're upset because they know someone that had an affair on them. Maybe a lot of things. And you know what? There's some people out there who can point to a real life history with me and say, CW Chanter burned me. CW Chanter did me wrong and did me dirty. And that's life. So everyone in the internet world need to know and understand that words are words and statements are statements. At a certain point, you're going to have to point to something material and objective where people can hang their hats on. Here is my position and point. UniRock, for no good reason, came out and took a legitimate, it's the same reason why we decry people talking about Sandy Hook. It's why we talk about, I believe the 9/11 was an inside job. Having said that, I have a problem with people who come out and say it was the Jews and no Jews were in the towers when they fell, because that's objectively not true. That's a false statement. That doesn't lead us to solving the real problem. It takes us away from the real problem. Objective facts are objective facts are objective facts. So for no good reason, UniRock decided to take all this research and journalism, that open source journalism, that many people, not just me, not just Kelly, but Jay Widener, but Yvonne Palermo, but Cliff High. Remember, Cliff High had statements to say about Corey Good's team falsifying their narratives of his research. Richard Dolan has tried to work with Corey Good. Many people have talked about Doxy, including UniRock. And we knew and understood what was involved and what had happened. And for no good reason, now that UniRock has done what's the equivalent of a false flag attack against that little piece of truth. And the problem is this. There was a reason why people were talking about Corey Good. And it wasn't just because I was jealous of Corey Good, because I wanted to be the cult leader and he was taking too much energy out of the room. It's because we could look and see that he was hurting people, he was hurting the community, and he was hurting the narrative of investigation and research. And also, how about this? You put yourself out in the real world with a story like Corey Good did, people are allowed to talk about it. People are allowed to talk about the Blue Avian story and your story of the Anshars and the Inner Earth. And a lot of the things that I talked about Corey Good had nothing to do with anything other than listen to this ridiculous story and ask yourselves, what is the likelihood? Is it more likely or less likely that he's just making it up, or that an interdimensional race of aliens have come here to spread the message of pure life, love, and understanding? A message that's already been here, by the way. This is like me, the Blue Avians coming to Earth to spread the message of eat a high vibrational diet, okay, and be more of service to self, service to others than service to self, makes as much sense as me going over to Davie in Scotland with a 6-pack so I can turn him onto beer. You just don't need to go to that endeavor and that effort in order to bring something that's already there. And why would you bring it to Corey Good, who's got his own problems? So it is what it is, and that's what I say is that I can understand and appreciate. Let's just leave it alone. And we're burning out on it, because the fact of the matter is that we're not the first community that's come to this conclusion about UniRock. We're not the first community that has felt this burn or felt that this has gone down and with them. And we'll see what happens. Maybe it's a life lesson learned, but I dare say, hey, if you're gonna, for me personally, if someone's gonna come out and make these sort of directed arguments against me, I do feel the need, based on the number of viewers that he has, based on for the same reasons that I think that's necessary to talk about Corey Good, to say this is not true, this is not good behavior, this hurts the community, doesn't help the community. And David made an excellent point about community. Community is one of these words. It's a favorite word of fascists. Do what you got to do for the community. We got to come together as a community. Everyone in the community knows this. Everyone in the community knows that. It's not true. And be very wary when people tell you about over and over again the community, and ask yourselves, who are they to speak for the community? And it goes for me too. If someone rewinds what I just said, the whole narrative and monologue that I just gave, they'll hear me say statements about doing things for the good of the community. Those statements need to be analyzed. Don't give anyone your sovereignty, and don't join in any team making. Look at things as objectively as you can. Enjoy the group discussion, have the group discussion, but know and understand that sometimes. And here's the other thing that's rarer than hen's teeth in this community: people going back and saying, "You know what? I was wrong. I thought CW Chanter was a douchebag deluxe." But you know what? Objectively reviewing the information that UniRock presented and objecting the information that CW presented, and you know what? Here's the other thing. Here's the great little lesson, folks. Just because you say you like UniRock personally and don't like CW Chanter personally, doesn't mean that you're not a superhero when you say, despite that fact, CW was right about this. And here's the other thing. You can look at the screenshots as they are. And you could say, and you can make the argument, CW wasn't doxxed because the definition of dox is A, B, and C, and he didn't experience that. You can make the argument that the screenshots don't show anything, or that their provenance is fricazy. You can make those arguments, or you could just accept them for what they are and still remain unconvinced by the arguments. But I would say this: I have never once told anyone, because me and UniRock are in a fight or beefing over this, that you should go look up who he is or go to his Facebook page to find out who he is. I never said I was going to go to the FBI to talk about him. Okay? They did that. UniRock and UniRage have to stand by their actions and endeavors and efforts. And UniRage specifically, I said I apologize.
You didn't make red pill to pay the bill, fucking videos and all that other things.
Your doctor's the evidence, and she specifically on Twitter today or yesterday said, I wrote 5 things. I wrote 5 things about CW. I wrote 5 tweets today and deleted them all because they all contained personal information about CW. And they said, you want to know who CW was before he came to ufology? Look at his internet pass. And they said, directed him to my Facebook, to look at me on Facebook. Who does this? UniRage and UniRock are nefarious bad actors. They are. They're not good people. They are not good people. They are not good people. And guess what? Hitler was a vegetarian and was nice to animals. You know what? Hitler wasn't a good person. Am I saying that UniRock is Hitler? No. I'm saying that UniRock is a scum doodly bag. He is. And anyone who has a contrary opinion can make that argument for themselves and articulate that argument to me any old day. I got open ears and open mouth and open eyes. That's my piece.
Natasha, can I say something?
Yes, please.
Okay. CW, when I spoke earlier, I was not including you in turning your attention away from these wrongs. There are certain people who have a special role. I call that role the truth sayer. And that's how I've come to feel you and see you, perceive you, understand you. Don't ever stop pointing to what you perceive is wrong. It's not popular. People are very uncomfortable with conflict. It's just, and I'm one of those who's uncomfortable with conflict. But if it weren't for CW, I would be in a different place. I don't want to go into that now, but you've really changed my life, my perspective. I've come to a lot of different understandings about myself via watching what you have to say. It's very, very important. And as far as turning the cheek, that's not what I'm saying either. I grew up in a Jewish home. My father also hated a conflict. If we had lived in Berlin in the 30s, we would have ended up in a concentration camp because he would have turned the other way and not spoken up. So it's very important to be truthful. Okay, so I just wanted to set the record straight.
No, I appreciate, and believe you me. See, here's the thing: there is a time to let it go, and eventually, the cost-benefit analysis will get to the point where I will have to say to a lot of things, including Rock Shamoose in the live chat, that I'm gonna grow up and let it go. You know what I mean? I just haven't yet so far, honey. Love you.
There's disclosure for you right there.
Disclosure. It's all, and meanwhile, it's all like. And here's the thing: even if you've been burnt by me, if I was accused of murder and you knew that I was accused of murder falsely, if you had a beef with me off the internet, would you engage in speculation that I'd actually done the crime just to be like, to get a point? Come on. There's other things. There's so many things to criticize me about music, about my singing style, the way I play guitar poorly. You know what I mean? To get yourself involved and to actually support UniRock, a homophobic individual who's given a platform and has supported the work of, who said that he had some things in common with, who's the guy from Britain? Not Richard Spencer. The other one.
Nick Pope?
No, not Nick Pope.
I'm sorry, I got lost. I was reading in the chat room.
Yeah, thank you, CW Chanter.
English Richard Spencer. What's his name?
Dawkins?
No, the Richard Spencer is a white nationalist in America.
Oh,
There's a guy in England that
Tommy Robinson.
Tommy Robinson. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's it.
Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Thank
But
you, CW. There's two very important things.
Nick Pope, I'm like technically. Be careful. Listen, I'll tell you, Natasha, be careful, because for all you know, if we piss off the wrong people, they're going to clip the show. They're going to say, "Here's Natasha saying that the English friggin' Richard Spencer is Nick Pope."
I didn't have one ear in the conversation. I was like reading the chat room as it went by, and all I heard was that English guy, and I was just trying to help. Like, huh? Nick Pope?
You did not help.
No.
No, I gotta stop. But and I'm human, and people, and here's the thing: under duress, we're gonna say 1,000. And I'll tell you something. I'm an attorney, and here's the thing: you want to live and I was raised by 2 attorneys. You want to know about an existential hellscape? Is a breakfast table with 2 troubled children who are being victimized by two attorneys, because everything turns into who can you prove what, and you can say this and I can say that, and you can point things this way and I'll point things the other way, and you can make this argument, make that argument, and it's politics. It'll drive you up the wall batty insane. And it's tempting. It's tempting to look at the live chat and every little thing that somebody says. They're like, CW just made a personal attack. Yeah, I made a personal attack. The dude accused me of doxing my own family and doxing a friend. I don't know where you come from. Some folks talk to me and I see them and I'm like, where do you come from that you would just let somebody do this on you? That's not where I grew up.
C-Dub.
It's called New Jersey.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
C-Dub, what's it going to take? Man, I know you're hurting, yeah? I know you're angry.
Yep.
And I know you're offended. If it was me, I can't say what I would do. Putting that aside, what's it going to take to calm you to the extent where this stuff isn't going to bother you anymore, or this stuff isn't going to affect you on a daily basis, where you can go back to doing what you do best on YouTube?
I think what it is a combination, and it's been a slow revelation, and it's come. So basically what it goes to something like this, is that early on in the saga, I came to the conclusion, and I said, look, if UniRock does a 6-hour stream of 6 hours of lies, if I were to try and debunk that means I have to dedicate 6 hours of my life to watching his 6 hours of content, pausing it and saying that's untrue, and trying to make a detailed argument about why it's not true. And the fact of the matter is that he's just going to come back with another 8-hour stream eventually that says the same things. There's a great t-shirt that people used to wear in about 2013 or around the streets of Jersey City in Newark, New Jersey. And it had a big old handprint on it. It just said, "Hi, hater." And the point of the shirt was this, is that haters are gonna hate. This is like saying, like, the voice of Cat Williams sometimes appears to me in the night when I think about these things, like a guardian angel, and says, haters are gonna hate. What are you banged up about these people doing what they're gonna do? I'm a work in progress, Davie, and I think that we're almost there. I really do think that we're almost there. At a certain point, because of my dedication to trying to improve myself, because my dedication to work with established mental health professionals and true spiritual advisors, to get my shit together, that we're at the point sometime soon where I'm going to be able to know and understand that it's impossible for me to think that I'm going to control people slandering me on the internet, and I'm just going to have to let some of that stuff go. And if I can't let it go with nothing, I'll probably have to say to myself, make a video about it, make one video about it, stick to the facts, don't get personal, and then let it be that. We're not there yet, though I certainly desire to get there.
So that's a good segue. I want to kind of take the reins here for a second. I want to advance the conversation forward a little bit. Let's take one step out. Let's take that next step out of the immediate picture. Take one step back from the personalities involved. And I want to ask everyone on the panel, Do you think that right now what we're seeing is the true effects of technology on this community slash social media, and the ability of those of us who have a different opinion to have our own show, to have our own say, and to kind of be iconoclastic about this stuff and say, no, I disagree? Because what we've been living with up until now is Gaia TV, which has been a growing force for good or evil. And people watch content through Gaia TV. They get their content through mainstream sources like Coast to Coast AM and Jimmy Church. And then they get to see their favorite ufologist do the little segues on Ancient Aliens or UFO Hunters or whatever weird content show that the History Channel or the Discovery Channel wants to run. And so then, you know, because you see these people do these little segues during these episodes, seeing them on television gives them this larger air of legitimacy. Oh my God, I saw them on TV. And this has been good for a lot of people. Nick Pope, Richard Dolan, Giorgio, all those people, all those faces, you know, those people are suddenly more in demand as lecturers, and conventions, the convention business is able to sell more tickets because they have people who have been on TV, but no questions are being answered. These are just appearances on TV, and it's just that cult of celebrity kind of writ large across the spectrum. But now what we have is this individual access to different shows with different people who can present a different set of facts, who can disagree. And in my opinion, in terms of setting this new question forward with the panel, I think that I think that this campaign, so to speak, not that it's an organized campaign, but it's a grassroots uprising of those of us who have some common fucking sense and know a lie when we hear it, and calling a liar because we know it's a fucking lie, because it's common sense, and because we know exploitation when we see it, so we call it out. So Corey Good is being killed, metaphorically speaking, and I don't want any physical harm or psychological harm to ever come to Corey Good, but it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's tearing these guys apart. Emery Smith, Corey Good, David Wilcock. It's easy to grab the thread of their ridiculous stories and start to unravel and pull it apart. And that's the power of social media. That's the power of these YouTube channels, is that suddenly the status quo is being disrupted because other people suddenly have a voice. And those other people don't have a profit motive for television or for the lecture circuit that some of the rest of us have, in terms of having a passion for the community and a passion for the truth and wanting to see truth tellers represent us and not charlatans. So I want to go across the panel again. Once again, you guys are really good at taking turns, so I don't feel like I have to moderate you in that sense. So whoever jumps in, jumps in. But is this it? Is this the impact of social media and technology? What's your take on this?
It's an ongoing revelation right now because it's brand new. We've never been in this space before, at least that we can remember. And we're discovering as we go along. And I want to salute you, Natasha, really, because it's panels like this. It's the opportunity to get together and have a conversation with each other instead of at each other, which is going to help us. So is this it? I doubt it. I think that it is evolving. And we also have to pay attention to the censorship that's going on. And I agree with you that part of the power of this technology is our coming together to figure out ways that we can combat the forces that be that are coming down upon us, et cetera, et cetera. But it's exciting. I think it's a wonderful thing. And my choice is to perceive it as a power that must be used responsibly with great understanding and great respect. And I'll move on.
I think ungloriously so. I might have to give myself a wee bit of a plug here, Natasha, in my answer. I apologise for so. I run a show on a Sunday night called the Sunday Chill. I've been doing it now for better part of a year, I would say, in this version of it. Before that, I ran it for 2 years on another channel. The whole basis of the Sunday Chill was that there was never an agenda for the show. There was never a topic for the show. The idea came about when I had the idea of this thing called the talking bench. I wanted to get stickers and post them all over cities. And on the stickers, there would be a QR code. And you could scan that QR code with your phone, and it would immediately take you to this show that was 24/7 and was all of these people just talking. I talked to loads of social services people about it in the UK, and I talked to a few charity workers, and people saw the obvious sort of recognitions towards how useful this would be for, say, mental health issues, or maybe even taking it as far as people committing suicide. And somebody said to me once, they could be standing on a bridge about to take that leap, and they see that sticker and they scan it with their phone, and the next thing they know, they're sitting talking with somebody for an hour. It urged me to keep going with my show, and the Sunday Chill has become an amazing thing now. The thing I get most apparent about the Sunday Chill is over the years of doing it, there's now been quite a few new content creators who have came out of the Sunday Chill, who maybe had been watching YouTube for a few years, had got onto the Sunday Chill and saw people coming in and just talking, and decided themselves to come in and talk for the first time, to use their voice, and have now went on to have successful channels. I'm so touched by that. So touched. It's an amazing, amazing thing just to be part of that. That's the power that I feel from YouTube. And like Bibi says, there's a great responsibility, But I think it shows that there's a great need for shows like the Sunday Chill. It is just a hangout. It's not even just a show. It's just a place where people meet and hang out and talk and have conversations. That's what we can use this technology for. I'm in Scotland. I'm in Glasgow. It's like 4:30 in the morning and the sun's coming up and it's bloody beautiful. Where are yous? I mean, this is amazing that we can make this connection. Long may it continue, I say.
Paranormal Hood.
Well,
first of all,
yeah.
I have a different question. Just as a sidebar, what strain are you guys smoking tonight?
I don't even know.
Wild cabbage.
One is something cookies. It was blue cookies or something like that, and I don't know what Jiggy has. He doesn't know what he has, but I had blue cookies. So
it's like Blue Dream and cookies or something.
Jiggy, did you ever smoke Stardog?
Anyway, what do you say?
You ever smoke Stardog?
Stardog?
Yeah.
Stardog? Oh, yeah, we got Stardog, yeah.
I highly recommend it. It's a favourite here in Glasgow.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's all I'm saying.
Anyway, I didn't want to derail you. What's the Smoke King and Jiggy take on this?
Well, yeah, the whole thing, the shift with the YouTube and the social media and everything's constantly changing. Like when this show started out 6 years ago now, right? Yeah. we're doing it like on telephone, and everybody was calling in on a telephone or on a cell phone and stuff like that. Everything was done through that, and then we had just a one little link to a web page, through Blog Talk, and that's it. And we're not really on social media or anything like that, and it just started to grow and change, and you can see how everything has changed with everybody. And you can watch people and you can see people on social media and how they were just a month ago. Now, all of a sudden the shift, now they're focused on this, they're focused on that. And you can pay attention to everything that's going on and stuff. And it's really changed. hasn't changed the way that we do the show. We always do the show. We present everything the way we present it. We're just about truth. We don't monetize. We're not here for money. None of that stuff. We just want to get to the truth, talk and have fun, smoke, and have a good conversation with everybody and stuff out there. But you can watch and see the trends with everybody else and stuff, and what everybody else is following, and what people focus on and stuff like that, and how all the woo-woo gets spun up and it makes this big, huge thing. And then that's why it's important for people like us that just want to keep it focused on, let's focus on facts and the truth. And like, okay, is this stuff really real, or is it a bunch of woo-woo? And we have all that, like the people on the panel tonight and stuff, and other people that we've talked about during tonight, and channels like that, and this community that's coming out and saying, hey, all right, there's a whole bunch of people, a whole lot of frauds, a whole bunch of people lying and spreading shit just to be famous, internet famous, as they say, and get their name out there, make some money, do whatever it is. And it's, you know, and in a way it's kind of sad, because that's what people do and stuff. They sit there and they talk about mainstream media and how that's all they do, but that's all these people are doing themselves and everything like that on these new platforms, these independent platforms and stuff. They've just turned it into the same thing. So, you know,
my take is all the technology and everything is great, but CW, you being at Contact in the Desert, Natasha, you and I met last year at Contact in the Desert. The boots on the ground for me is very important. And I know a lot of people, you know, they trashed a lot of these events and stuff, but there are some good people who speak. But I think by going to these events and actually having a little bit of a voice, and these people seeing a little bit of people who think a little bit different than they do, it may create a point where someone from Gaia or someone who runs these events said, well, why don't we start having objective panels and actually allow some of these people to actually sit on a panel, no cussing, no anger, nothing, but speak objectively, speak intelligently, speak scientifically, speak in a way where there's a little bit more of a conversation. It's not a one-sided conversation. So with all this technology and stuff is great, but I think meetups at these events and starting to create events that aren't all just these people with crazy stories are going to help the overall thing of disclosure, because that's what this is all about. I think that that's what's really, really getting lost, is that everybody wants disclosure. Everybody wants positive things. They want the peace and light. They want awakening. They want the world to get better. But that is the part in this that is really, really getting lost. And I think that is the stuff that we have to also focus on too. All this stuff is great, and the negativity and stuff. Everybody has to grow a little bit of thicker skin too, because there's a lot of thin-skinned people out here. I'm sorry. All these people who have been through so much, you know, in life and everything else, I just don't get how these people don't have thicker skin. All of us need to grow thicker skin and be able to just not let every little thing. We really, to be honest with you, I don't really give a fuck about the conversations that people want to have in chats and talk a little bit of shit, whatever. That doesn't really affect me. They're allowed to feel how they feel. It also gets you to look and see how other people think and what's on their minds and why they think that way. I don't have a problem with any of that. Keep it moving. I don't consider them haters. They're just doing their own thing. Let them keep doing it.
In our chats, we let everybody go, unless there are a few certain rules. If you're racist and really being a really bad troll and stuff, like saying some really stupid things and just being on it, then you got to go. But other than that, you can come and you can say whatever you want. You can say your opinion on our shows. That's the thing, and that's where it's coming to. People want to have these shows about censorship and talk about censorship and all the censorship in the news and the censorship here and the censorship there, as they're censoring people,
and they're blocking them, and they're censoring
and they're not, and they're sitting there getting on people because people are talking about, oh, you know, these people don't let people talk and have their, you know, their opinions and stuff like that. But then they're doing the same exact things, and everybody's doing all the same thing. And it's like, we have all this great technology. We have this way to communicate like we are right now. We're talking all around the world right now, basically.
Yeah.
Shot at those flat earthers. Idiots, you know what I mean? Here we are. We're all of us around the globe right now talking and having this conversation and using this technology and stuff, and we can tweet it all out and everything like that, and we can use it. And like, it comes to the Dogscape, we can look at metadata, we can look at these tweets, we can look at the original stuff like that and see that this stuff is what it is and stuff like that. People can look at this stuff. All this technology everywhere is a great thing, and it's, in a way, it helps to expose all the shysters out there, all the real shills, all the ones that are actually faking everything like that.
What's metadata?
Exactly. Listen, he had to show me that 2 days ago too. Doc,
I don't know what that is.
Thank you. I'm 49 years old. Dock skate out when CW started talking. What the fuck is a dock skate and loppers and all this type of stuff?
I'm with you, Jiggy.
I don't got time for all these new words and shit. Keep it simple, please.
The time moves in one direction. If I can add my 2 cents into the discussion. There's a couple of things. When it comes to the ufology world, we know that we all know and understand that it has kind of this yin yang quality. There's 2 things about it. There are those people who come to it for whom it is totally integrated into a spiritual pursuit and tradition. They think of things in terms of ascension. They think of things in terms of what the Space Brothers and the Galactic Federations are teaching us and why they're here and how we're interacting for good or for evil. They couch things in these sort of metaphysical terminology and kind of occult and spiritual language. And then there's people who want to study it and know and understand it purely as nuts and bolts research. Who, what, where, when, and how. What happened at Roswell? What are they storing at Area 51? What's the makeup? Who are they from? Where are they from? Who's involved? How's the government involved? And oftentimes the watchword, the corollary word to ascension is disclosure. What's when the facts are going to be revealed. And in both these cases, so I'll talk about this community and both these halves of the community as one thing when I look at the world as it's developing. The problem we need to know and understand is we have whether the truths that you are seeking are spiritual truths or the truths that you're seeking are technical, hard truths, for want of a better term. You're not serviced by a community that's going further and further into commercialization. Excuse me. Things like Contact in the Desert, things like Conscious Life Expo, even things like the rave community is now been spontaneous warehouse raves have been replaced by events like Electric Daisy Carnival, and even Burning Man has evolved into a very, very commercialized type of event. We've allowed our cultural spaces to become commercialized spaces, and that services no one. I was at Contact in the Desert, and I can tell you this, is that for a place that's somehow supposed to be comprised of people that are preoccupied with spiritual truths or technical truths, people are allowing a ton of daydreams and fantasies to be put out there. And I don't think that serves anyone. And I think it's an excellent point. It's like I've made this point about Contact in the Desert for 2 years now. Why are people paying to have a dinner date with the hair from Ancient Aliens, God bless him, child of God, child of the goddess, or George Norrie? George Norrie is a radio host. George Tsoukalos is a guy from Ancient Aliens who's on Ancient Aliens because he's got fantastic hair. Let's be honest. He doesn't have other than being a fan of this type of stuff. And Jimmy Church, a lot of the Jimmy Church material is kind of like X-Files. I wonder how much of we buy. We don't buy T-shirts with Walter Cronkite on it. We don't buy T-shirts with pictures of with just historical events on them. We enjoy this stuff because a lot of people are here, and they'll admit. I think a lot of people will admit that they're here for entertainment value. So the problem is that there are some people here that do get involved in this community, come in here for spiritual truths or factual truths, and if we have no standard on either front, then we're going to run into real problems. And one standard that I think everyone has known and understand is that the almighty dollar, it's not to say that money is the root of all evil. It's to say that money is the root of a lot of evil. And people really need to think about the commercial concerns and the commercial endeavors. And I think to Davie's point is that I often said this, is that the internet is bringing us closer to a realization. I don't think we're going to have to deal with the likes of David Wilcock or Corey Good or Captain Randy Kramer or Andrew Bashago or Carrie Cassidy much longer. Yeah. Because I think that these are remnants of an older paradigm. If you look at the first couple of movies that were made, they looked exactly like plays. Honestly, they looked exactly like plays with the people filming. There was a wall in the back, a wall on the side, a wall over here. Everything was a cutout of a room because that's how they understood plays. So they started making movies. They made movies that looked like plays, and then eventually some people realized, oh, we could do things with the camera. The camera can move. The camera can do different things. And you know what? When they first started TV, they started doing TV shows. Guess what TV shows looked like? TV shows looked like little movies because that was the next thing that they were coming off of. And so in this world, the internet, things are still looking a little bit like internet radio broadcasts looked a little bit like the radio broadcasts that came before, with here's a new guy and they're promoting their new book, and I'm going to just interview this person. I'm going to promote them, and my channel's going to grow, and they're going to grow, and we're in the money. I think the future is going to be the democratized space of not the Google Hangout, because we now know, people have been predicting it. YouTube is now telling us the Google Hangouts are going away. It's going to be YouTube live stream, which is fine, but it's a little bit more difficult if you want to have a bunch of people in a room. They'd much rather be hear one person talk, but whatever. That's not to go on the side. Is that what this space is indicating? Is that we're going to be through with the celebrities. We're going to be through with the celebrity contactees. You don't need to have celebrity contactees like Travis Walton or Corey Good, because Natasha, me, Bibi, Davie, Paranormal Hood, any of us know that we on two hands we could probably in 5 seconds rattle off all the people that we know in our personal lives that have had contact experiences, real contact experiences that has never occurred to us to question about whether they were legitimate or not. So we don't need the celebrities on a dais. We don't need people spending their entire life, not working for a living and just being a telling a story or writing a book. And that'll be good. But what then, building off of Davie's point, then going to Jiggy's point, boots on the ground. We need to meet. People need to have a commitment. This will become real when people start meeting in the real world, building real communities with all the trials and tribulations that go along accordingly, and do so not in commercial spaces, but in real spaces. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That being said, do you think that some of this is, and this is a pure reaction to what you just said, CW, you think that some of this is our fault for expecting truthiness to come out of a place that's basically entertainment for most people? Are we looking for something that wasn't there to begin with, but we're asking for it?
I think there's a lot of people that are personally invested that need to wake up and understand that since the 1950s, people have been talking about the Space Brothers coming. I mean, how long have people been talking about Jesus coming back? At the end of the day, when all is said and done, you're going to have to find a spiritual outlook and a spiritual belief system and a way to deal with the material world around you that doesn't rely upon something happening tomorrow or something about to happen, but rather is based on accepting and dealing with life as it is today.
BB, where do you?
It may come, it may not come.
No, go.
But you better be able to have some way to deal with today.
So you asked what I think is, in answer to your question, as I said earlier, there are all of these forces and understandings that are all in a state of flux and evolvement. It's really fascinating watching. I love what you said, CW, about that, when we first looked at movies, it resembled a play, because this is what we knew. So we're taking our experiences and bringing it to the new experiences, and we're going to project what we know. And it's a surprise to some people that, with their starry eyes, and I was one of those people, by the way, that it's based on money. This is entertainment. Oh my God. Well, this is what I'm talking about growing up. We have to, and some people aren't even paying attention. They're just letting it come in and letting it happen to them. Not everybody wants to make the choice to be discerning and to, as you put it earlier, I think it was UCW, that, claim your sovereignty with this. Claiming your sovereignty means not looking up to a celebrity on the dais, speaking as an authority. I respect anybody who's put in the work and the research, as far as anything scholarly, or if they're an artist, if they put in the time and the practice to perfect some kind of rhythm, I'll give them that respect, but that's not adoration. So in answer to your question, ultimately, Natasha, it's in a state of flux. And I think a conversation like this. I want to see more of them. I love this. I really, this is about us listening to each other and respecting each other. And we're not talking at, and this is a way of getting away from what has been going on. And that's not to say, CW, I would love to see you continue being that truth sayer. It's very important to me personally that you do not stop that. It's a real gift that you have. So God bless you for that.
Well, thank you. Look, I mean, the thing about it is we feel the drive to do what we need to do. And the question comes to us if we're living an examined life. Why are we doing the things we're doing? Are we doing them well? Can we do them better? I tell people all the time, you might not know and understand that why I'm doing the things that I do, but I think I'm doing good things. Doing good things means if you really do the right thing, you're going to sometimes have to encounter people who are going to tell you that you're doing the wrong thing. And you do your best, and you rejigger, and you reevaluate, and you come again, and you reevaluate again, and you change again, and you pray on it, and you move, and you make differences. So it's not an easy job, but like I said, it's trying to strike that balance. I understand that people can put forward the argument to say you should just let things lie, everybody tell their truth, and the real truth will rise to the top. It'll all work out in the end. Let karma take care of it. Let the universe work it out. These are nice things to say. And, if I was an absolutely theistic individual, maybe I'd have an easier time settling for that. Also, on a personal level, sometimes it does get personal. We're all trying to figure out where that balance lies. Mm-hmm. I think there's a temptation sometimes for people to say, oh, this is getting personal, this is getting personal. Just because, I mean, at the end of the day, all human interaction is personal. Every evaluation of a political movement, a military action, it's personal. It's based on, what you think is right, how you evaluate things, what you value, whether you think that violence is ever a means to an end. I mean, all this stuff is profoundly, personal. And we're all in the internet space. We're all trying to work it out. We come to the internet space as people, and people are fallible, and people get upset with each other, and people can be wrong about things. People can have fair evaluations that I deal with it on the internet all the time, where someone says to me this, and this, and I say I completely understand how you've come to that point of view and position. I don't think you're right, but I can understand how you got there. And there's some people that raise a question, and I'll say, you know what, you may be right, but we're still figuring it out. I don't know. No one knows what the ultimate answers are. I certainly don't claim to be, but I think I think that the way to discuss and develop these internet cultures is the same way to do it in the real world, which is to think about honestly about the way you conduct yourself, think about your actions, think about how they affect things, and understand that you're going to be called out sometimes for the right reasons, and sometimes you can be called out for the wrong reasons. And we keep going, and we keep on rocking and rolling, and we'll figure it out in theory. That's
absolutely. I want to give a quick shout out. You're going to see a different thumbnail for this show that might seem like a small topic, but Spooky, who is at Fires of Truth on Twitter, created some fan art, contacted me personally, said very kind things about the show, and offered to make some art for that. And so I just want everyone to know that I'm displaying that thumbnail with pride, because someone who's a fan of the show created it for the show. And I'm very open to letting people in and not being exclusionary. And it's the same thing with Davie asking to come on the show. Davie just kind of like in the chat room last night, and I was like, well,
what's a thumbnail?
Sure, you want on the show?
Natasha was like, who the fuck is Davie?
I don't even know what a thumbnail is. You're using those words again. There you go, those big words.
Right. But, I think I want to circle back around, and I think a lot of what can be said right now at this point has kind of been said, and I don't want to belabor the point. So I don't want to do that to the viewers or to the participants of the panel. So we'll start to wind it down. But I think I want to focus on something Jiggy said in the very beginning of the premise of some of this stuff is based on exclusivity, and religions have used that. You know, we're going to let you know a secret. We're going to let you become part of our community, and we're going to bring you into the fold, and we're going to have you be part of the clique. And different organizations show power. The Catholic Church, the Mormons, there are lots of different groups that kind of stick by each other and stick with her and support each other, and therefore further their cause by taking care of their own. And I think that is sometimes, you know, the world's a tough place, and people see that, they get attracted to that community, to that feeling of safety within a group. And also everyone wants to be liked and accepted. So it's very easy to say, look, you know, if you buy into this philosophy, whatever it is, you're going to be liked, you're going to be accepted, you're going to be hugged at the door, and you'll be one of us. And we're social creatures, and that's a powerful motivation for some people. And that's why I wanted to let Davie come on the show, and that's why I wanted to have some fan art, and that's why I'm always going to be open to you. And I don't mean this in a disparaging way. You don't have to have written a book to come on the show. You don't have to have your own show to come on here. I would prefer that people be articulate and have a point and have an opinion. You know, in the end, this is entertainment, and every time, you know, I do this show, there's a little space up there, and this show is entertainment. I've never said anything any different. I'm not changing anyone's lives here. I might create opportunities for a thoughtful conversation, and that's the best I can do. And with that, I'd like to go across the panel again. You all can take turns. Where do you, and I just want to add as an aside, I've thought about getting my own server and starting my own platform. And I know that Reverend Richard Moonchild has just started something as well. I'm getting spooked by this shit on YouTube and the way that they're controlling things. And so I'm starting to think very seriously about having my own server, my own platform, and not relying on YouTube to carry this through, because I'm not so sure that YouTube isn't going to censor some of these topics right out of existence, or at least kill any monetary gain that anyone can get from it. And, you know, that might as well be censorship, right? But once again, I just want to assert this, you know, these private companies did the research and development. They created these platforms, they run it, they maintain it, they paid for it. In my opinion, it's their private property, and they can do with it whatever they want, whether it's fair or not. And I think they have that right. And you can still say whatever you want on YouTube, but you may not be able to monetize it and say whatever you want. You may not get advertised. You may not get in the suggested list if you say whatever you want. Mm-hmm. So they are trying to kind of socially engineer the content of YouTube, and just not so obviously trample on everyone's First Amendment rights, but they're kind of doing it in a backhanded kind of way. So as we go across the panel, I want to know what everyone's thoughts are. What do you think this community and all this is going to look like 5 years from now? What do you see 5 years in the future? Anyone?
David will talk. David will talk.
I started this 5 years ago. I used to believe in Nibru. I attended to the end of the world parties with Jeff Doherty. I was a true believer at one point. That was all about 5 years ago. All of that started.
Same here.
I look at where I am now and what I'm doing on YouTube. 5 years ago, I didn't have a channel. 5 years ago, I was thinking about having a channel. 5 years ago, I bought expandingtheprocess.com, and I still have expandingtheprocess.com. And I thought about having a server because 5 years ago I was worried about starting a channel on YouTube and being accepted. I think I'll look back now and I thank God I've had a channel, I've deleted it, I've done weekly shows, I've talked about AI, I've talked about Nibru, I've looked at the moon, I've talked about Mars, I've talked about religion, I've talked shite, I've got drunk, I've cried, I've screamed, and I've shouted, and it all doesn't matter, because all that matters is right here, right now. What we do right here, right now is the only important thing. So 5 years from now, I don't know where the hell we'll be, but I think it'll be better than what we are now, because it'll be 5 years. You know, if Nibru's no came and there's no been another end of the world party, then I think we'll be in a better place. And I think we should all just consider that and be a wee bit optimistic. Forget about the hassles of UFOs. Forget about the hassles of what religion you follow. Forget about all your worries and cares, because this is only fucking YouTube, and we're human beings.
Perfect.
Okay.
Jiggy, you had something to say at the top?
Well, I think that was kind of a good lead-in, because the real world, first of all, can affect us I mean, anything can happen in the real world. So that's the first thing. But as far as, hopefully, if this is all still around and we're all still able to do what we're doing, and it's not all censored out of the fucking existence and stuff, that there's still maybe more of like I said, panels and events and different things going on where we're all allowed to be there, and people are allowed to talk and have more science and stuff going on to back up some of this stuff and maybe take the bullshit out of it. And we've actually got some real stuff going on, and it's a point where real scientists and real people are going to be able to step up and do this stuff, because it's going to make sense, because technology is moving us forward. So hopefully we'll see more of that. But I just think the real world itself is going to affect us a lot more than any of this stuff. Hopefully that will be the thing that will make what we're doing important and make it not irrelevant. So.
Bibi?
Make sure I'm not muted. Well, who knows, again, where we're going to be. I like to think that we're going to know a lot more than we know now, that out of conversations like this, we'll become a little bit more grown up, more respectful of each other. And I'll tell you, Natasha, last night, I wasn't able to be in your live stream while it was happening, but I watched it. I went into like the ecstatic stratosphere, because it's information like that. My God, that, and I'm not aware of this gentleman, the scientist that you brought on, Simeon Hein. Is that his
name? Dr. Hein.
Oh my God, that was just a grand job, of keeping up. Really very, very impressive. This stuff moves me. So I would like to see also, maybe people will become more interested because of the technology and the energies involved in the Mandela. I mean, this crosses over into so many things, and we can be talking about all this stuff and affecting change. And the last thing I want to say, I really, really, really applaud the idea of you getting your own server. That would be taking your sovereignty into your own hands. And I trust you with that from what I've seen of you. You're mature, you're respectful, you're loving, you're kind. You really are. So, and may more people like Natasha get their own servers.
Well, thank you for your kind words. Smoke King, did you have something?
I live in the now, so 5 years from now, I don't know where it will be, but I mean, it's always progressing. Like I said earlier, 5 years ago, we started out when we would do the show, we'd all call in on our cell phones to an 800 number and stuff like that. It wasn't even like an 800 number, and here we are now. So it's just going to progress and adapt and stuff to what's going on with the current technologies, wherever it's going, and the platform. I do kind of see, like what you were saying with your own server and stuff, is a shift maybe toward that now with the censorship going on with all the bigger platforms. Is a lot of people are going to start their own smaller platforms and their own servers, have their own servers where they can host other people and stuff, and give people the opportunity to do, what YouTube started out as, and doing, and giving everybody the opportunity to come and say whatever they wanted to say and stuff like that. So, I've heard other people talk and seen some things like that with people. So, it's just all, like I said, I live in the now. Whatever's happened now in this moment, I just go with that. And You know, change. You got to change too. You got to change with the moment. You can't try and stay and be the same that you always were and everything. You got to change and adapt and grow. Growing and changing is a big thing, especially in this community and in this world.
Maybe the mainstream will give us all a chance too. I mean, I think that'll be important too. Maybe the mainstream will stop censoring so much what goes on and allow people to have a broader conversation.
Everybody should be given the opportunity to expand their process.
This plug monster machine. I'm gonna take this opportunity to disavow fucking Davie and his eternal expanding the process. He's gonna show up with a t-shirt. It's expanding the process.
Yeah, they're coming.
He's the type of guy. He's the type of guy to fucking bomb the newsman trying to cover a satellite going down or some sort of legitimate story by going, by the way, expanding the process, Howard Stern's penis, Baba Booey, Baba Booey.
Baba Booey.
This one guy.
Hey, man, if you've got the accent, flaunt it, eh?
There you go. Hey, listen, he's like, somewhere I think deep down inside, Davey's like one of these guys. He's actually like paying attention. He's going to those YouTube content creator classes that he's trying to offer you on the content creator page. Learn how to expand your audience.
I don't even know what a thumbnail is.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you watched
The secret to viewer retention.
That's a computer term, and then
Yeah, whatever. I'm low tech.
That has nothing to do with
David's rocking the analytics.
My camera is currently sitting on top of a Hoover, and I've got a light balanced over here, and I'm in this.
Don't get me started on white balance.
I've got a creator school class.
Listen, somewhere every time I say the term white balance, Cliff High gets a Bitcoin. There's like an algorithm somewhere in the machine.
By the way, I want to say I have a beef with Cliff High. Cliff High, when I had the idea to do this panel, was the first person I asked, and he did not even respond to me. I've asked Cliff High to be on this show probably 3 or 4 times, and only like the first time did he respond, and he constantly blows me off. He doesn't even recognize my requests, and I don't know what his fucking problem is with me or this show, but I've been very kind in reaching out to Cliff High, but he wants no part of this show for whatever reason. But that's probably the last time I asked him.
No. You probably should come on.
If it makes you feel any better, there's been an open invitation to the Sunday Chill for Cliff High for quite some time, and he promised me, he actually, in an email somewhere I have it, that there was a perchance going to be I don't know if it was a scuba diving thing or a jet ski riding opportunity. I can't remember, but it never happened. So he makes promises, and it just, So
Natasha had Jimmy Church though, so she can't talk. I mean,
careful with it. Had Jimmy Church there.
I just want to say to anyone who's going to suggest in the live chat that Cliff High is selective, I just want to point out that Cliff High showed up on my show.
That's
probably, can I tell you something? That's probably why he's not coming on your show, Natasha, because I was the first guy. I swear to Jesus. I swear to Black Jesus. I was the first guy that had a Cliff High on.
Come on our show.
Buy his cryptocurrency bullshit, but actually spoke back to him, and he was like, oh, fuck. He's like, people are talking back now. They're asking questions. Questions like, wait, I thought my Bitcoin was supposed to be at $10 million and vibrating on my rectum by now. What the heck is going on, Cliff High?
Cliff High's
silver, Cliff High.
Cliff High, Natasha deserves your respect. I don't
Cliff High. I'd rather have Walter Bosley.
Well, I don't chat earlier, so he does know who you are, Natasha. So he just hasn't had time to go on the show.
I'm talking over this guy, but let me do I swear to smoking. I swear to God, I'll give you the floor after this. But here's a great joke. Here it is. So here's the over under. You're deciding whether or not to have Walter Bosley on or Cliff High. Okay, if you have Walter Bosley on, you're going to have an erudite, funny, intelligent guy, affable bloke, who will be able to talk to you both about practical investigative techniques, legitimate military experiences, as well as the supernatural and necromancy. If you have Cliff High on, you will have 50,000 bots blowing up your spot making it look like you got a real successful program. So the question is this, is that what do you want? Do you want Walter Bosley, or do you want 50,000 views at Cliff Eye going, the thing about Aquamarine is as the color vibrates with the resonance of the noosphere. So G5 technology, as it slowly starts to round out, we're going to see both positive and negative changes in the marketplace, as well as the marketplace of ideas. We're all a little bit psychic, and that's why you need to know and understand that you're going to see some real things happening.
Submarines as
I respect
spaceships. Submarines,
And the
spaceships.
G5 is here. G5 is here to prevent the Manton invasion. To which I want to say the following to all the cryptocurrency fans. See, here's how Cliff Eye works. Cliff Eye goes to the cryptocurrency people, and he seems like a very legitimate, computer-oriented guy. The dirty little secret is that if you were to take like all of the streams that he's appeared on over the couple of months that he's the non-cryptocurrency ones, if you played them for the cryptocurrency people, it would be the equivalent of showing the congregation a videotape of their favorite fire and brimstone pastor in the gay nightclubs. You know what I mean? Because Cliff Eye is as brutal as they friggin' come. And he has it coming. I'm allowed to say people that being mean to Cliff Eye. This is all out of love. But here's the fact about Cliff Eye. Cliff Eye thinks that he mind controlled me because so I'm allowed to say this. He mind controlled me, but I'm the guy that got him to admit on air that his entire technology, his entire computer program was based on the subjective weighing and evaluating of words. Like words like love mean more than words like dingleberry. And I just want to say there's no reason to think that any of this makes any sense, especially considering that Bitcoin est the bed. That's it.
I think the word of the night goes to Natasha with tallywhacker. I tallywhacker got me to start the show. I was gone by that point.
Oh, that's coming back to haunt me. That's that my grandpa would say that. So, in the spirit of free speech, without a specific question for me, I'd like to do a lightning round. I'd like everyone to go across the panel, talk about what you're doing, or promote your show, or whatever project you have, or where people can find you. And before I close out, I want to say once again, I just want to remind everyone, I invited UniRock on here. And I would have given him a fair shake, and I would have let him speak his part, and I would have given him space to defend his assertions. But he declined to recognize the invitation. So that is what it is. So we got to talk about him without him being here, which is okay because he has to take responsibility for his own actions. And remember as well, on the same note, there was another victim of this, and that's Kelly Farmer, and she was in the chat room, but she wasn't here on air to speak for herself or to relay what effect this incident had on her. I don't know if we're going to come back and revisit this because I don't know if it's worth it. This was pretty comprehensive in terms of what I think we can cover on this topic on my show. And I want to thank everyone's time and attention, and thank everyone in the chat room. I didn't keep a close eye in the chat room tonight, basically because with so many guests, I really have to pay attention and listen. And, you know, the next thing you know, I looked in the chat room and I'm calling Nick Pope a Nazi. So I you know, took my cue from that, like, okay, I really fucked that up. So I can't be peeking into the chat room. Next thing you know, I'm like, you know, running Nick Pope in the ground. And I didn't mean to do that. So just go across the panel, talk about what you're doing, tell people how they can get in touch with whatever it is you're doing.
My name's Davie. I'm
Hi, Dave.
You can get me the Batman _ I have this channel called Expanding the Process. I do a wee show on a Sunday. It's called the Sunday Chill. Everybody's welcome. We have a wee chat. Apart from that, nature shows, Scottish history, Sunday saunters, various topics and banters throughout the week, and often seen on CW show giving them some hassles. Yeah, that's about me.
I'll go next. I'm Bibi. Bibi Tinsley. You can find my work at thebbblog.com. I've kind of gone underground for the last couple of years. There's a really good reason for it. And I'm finally able to come public with it. My very, very beautiful adult daughter slowly succumbed to a disease, a mental health issue. It's known as schizoaffective disorder. It's been absolutely devastating. It went from bipolar 1, which is bad enough, and into, I mean, she basically spent most of 2018 hospitalized. It was that terrible. And as a mother, you can imagine it brought me to my knees. Well, I'm come out of that, and she's doing much better. It's a slow haul, but she gave me permission to help tell her story, and she really wants me to tell my story. That's what I'm finding I am. I'm a storyteller. I have a channel too, but I'll be posting a lot in the upcoming months. I haven't, but that's why. So mental health is my passion right now, telling stories about mental health. And Natasha,
Awesome.
Thank you again. And thank you to everybody here. It's really been good.
Thank you, Bibi. Thank you.
And Bibi, I'd like to have you back on just as a solo guest. I am not a doctor, obviously. I'm not a nurse, but my last legit job, I was a case manager at an outpatient psychiatric clinic in Orange County, California. So I have a lot of experience with those types of diagnoses and those types of experiences. And I have another decade years ago of psychiatric work that I've done. So I've worked with a lot of different populations, and I'd be happy to have a conversation about that.
Thank you.
Not to jump in, but I had a conversation with Bibi quite recently. I myself suffer from various mental health problems, let's say. I'm pretty outspoken about it on my own channel. I do mental health diaries when I go and visit my psychiatrist and stuff like this. I'd put it out there some time ago about having an open and frank discussion about mental health on YouTube and the effects of it, both personally and within the group of people that were here. I have a personal thing just now about how the term mental health, I say it's like the new troll on YouTube. People are getting called out for their mental health issues, and I think this is disgraceful and just uncalled for. But not want to go into any depth conversation just now. I just put it out there that I think this is maybe another round table discussion that we could have sometime in the future.
God bless you, Davie.
Absolutely. Jiggy, Smoke King, closing statement.
We're Paranormal Hood. You can find us everywhere. But Paranormal Hood Live Radio on YouTube is the most important place to find us. We're on all social media. We do a Thursday night stream every Thursday night for the last 6 years. That will always be there, and we pop on occasionally. So there's also an Amazon Prime show, a TV show, which season 1, episode 1 is there. Episode 2 will be up to. Well, we actually do investigate because we are legitimate investigators. So we actually go out and investigate the paranormal as well as talk about this stuff and go to Contact Natasha and Portal to Ascensions and Conscious Lights. And just keep it moving. I just think the most important thing, folks, is just to keep having a conversation. The other side doesn't want to have a conversation, but eventually they're going to have to. That's the thing. You if we stop, then they will never have to be held accountable and speak and actually put some science and actually put some evidence up. So the jig is up. I mean, it's very important to make sure that these people know that they're going to have to, at some point, show and prove.
Show the blue chickens.
Yeah, can we see the chickens? I'd love to see them. The blue avians. Or at least ascend. Just ascend. Leave. Ascend. They're all about ascending. I just say this. Just go. Then please leave the rest of us here. We have no problems here. I'm cool here. Go. Bye. I'll drive you to the airport. Wherever you need to go ascend, I will help you get there. Just go. Leave us in our misery.
Smoking, do you have anything to add to that?
That's it. That's pretty much the same, you know.
Well,
Paranormal
CW, you had the first word in the show, and it's going to come back around to you. You can bookend it and have the last word. What would you like to say?
Thank you so much for that honor. Number one, I'm very happy to have been on this panel. I think it was a very good discussion. I think we went and covered a lot of different things. I think that opinions are opinions, but I think a fair and balanced and evaluation of our behavior tonight will indicate that people had things to say about strong issues and issues that cause strong feelings. But we were able to organize it well, and I think Natasha did a very good job as a train conductor. And even though we were all on our best behavior, whenever it gets to any panel, especially a panel that includes both me and Davie and the dynamic duo over at Paranormal HUD, we know that there's an opportunity for chaos to have ensued, and it certainly did not. So that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. As far as what I'm doing in the future is I'm going to keep on doing what I do in the future, which is with no agenda, with no plan, just keep on reminding to do my best to remember to water all the different plants, to talk about problems with toxic individuals, but then also to bring my light to the table, to talk about my religious and spiritual views that I think are worth talking about, to have some fun, to make some jokes, to be around when people need to cry, to be around enjoy it when people need to laugh, and to tell everyone that I love them.
It's awesome. And with that, I can't help but play the happy music.
Oh, and I just want to say
thank you.
As far as Kelly is concerned, I just want to say this is that, when we try and think about all the bullshit that she has to go through with UniRock, I just want to say, really, there should be a small jug with where you can put your coins in at the pizzeria place for Kelly, because she has to deal with me. So everyone say a prayer for Kelly Farmer forever to deal with me, and then that's that. That's it. That's my shout out to
Kelly Farmer. Speaking of Kelly, I meant to mention.
Oh, she's gonna be Bibi. You're gonna be on her channel on Tuesday, right?
Right. I meant to mention that.
Explaining Esoterica, like, comment, subscribe. Bibi's going to be there. It's going to be a dynamic. Now, if these two wildcats are going to go crazy, my prediction for the Kelly Farmer Bibi blowout, we're going to see madness ensue. Plates are going to hit the wall. Dogs and cats living together.
It's going to be wild.
It's going to be craziness.
Catch that on Explaining Esoterica. CW Farmer and Kelly Chandler. They're so
take your pick.
It up. We'll start over with the happy music. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here once again. I want to thank all of my guests tonight. This was an amazing panel. First panel I've ever ran, and I think it was highly successful. You could have done something else with the last 2 hours, but you chose to spend that time with us. And for that, I deeply appreciate it, and I'm giving you love. Like and subscribe, please, below. Share this video. Talk about it on Twitter. Start a conversation. And by all means, rub fucking UniRock's nose.
And why is the black dude not dancing? Why is the only dude not dancing with the black guy? Come on. I don't care how hard they shout.
Sorry, I got a shuck and jive too. That's what Billy Carson's for.
Thank you, everyone.
The shuck and jive. They don't need me for that.
You can earn them, son.
I am not Billy Carson. There'll be no sunglasses at night. There'll be no fucking pimp suits and shit.
No buttons. Come it.
Chaos.
You can't
Good night, everyone. Here we go. Bye.
Again.